Alright, so I hope you guys are having a good break. I want to hop on here and read a couple chapters out of Front Desk, as well as go over a couple things in the packet, just how to do them. Then I'll post some videos tomorrow with some of it completed so you can check your work. Before I even start, if you did not get these two packets because you were not here on Friday, or your parents didn't come pick it up because they didn't have the opportunity, completely understand. Please hop on MobyMax. You can do MobyMax Language, MobyMax Reading Literature Skills, MobyMax Reading Informational Skills, MobyMax Math, work on net fact fluency. I know Mr. Wyckoff assigned some math lessons on MobyMax. I know Mr. Mays is posting things or will be posting things on Google Classroom that can be done. If you don't do those things, or do those things on top of this packet, as well as please make sure you're reading for at least 20 minutes a day. Write for at least 20 minutes a day. Get some exercise, learn something new, how to make a recipe or a new craft. Do something that's just going to keep your brain working and trying new things, because as of right now, when we head back to school, we will be going right back into testing, and with that we need to make sure that we are prepared as possible with the circumstances. Something that my high school history teacher said that he told his students, which I thought was very interesting, is historians, when they look back on things like this, because this is something that we have never gone through before with the coronavirus and closures of schools and different restaurants, gyms, things like that. Historians don't always want journalist point of view or scholarly professor's point of view. They want everyday people. They want kids. So write a journal. Write about what you're feeling. Write about how this has affected your life, about how it may have affected your family's lives. Write about what is going on around you, because think about Anne Frank. Anne Frank wrote a diary during World War II, and that's now a book. And we use that as a piece of history. So write a journal. Write for 20 minutes every day, get outside, exercise, things like that. When we were reading Front Desk last time on Friday, we read that Jason and Mr. Yao showed up randomly at the Cala Vista, and at the Cala Vista, Mr. Yao was questioning whether or not Mia's parents were hiding Chinese immigrants in the hotel to help them as they were moving across California. They were also, that was also when the girl came back with the mom and wanted the jeans back and had to take the jeans and give them back to her, and Mr. Yao was not very pleasant about that. The only thing that we did learn was Jason did see his parents slip out, or Mia's parents slip out, and go let the immigrants know that Mr. Yao was there, and Jason didn't say anything. So that's where we're at right now. So we're on chapter 55. I thought the whole point of having customers fill in their addresses was so you could mail them back their stuff in case they left it behind, Mr. Yao said after the girl and her mom left. Wasn't that your idea? I couldn't speak. The humiliation had burned a hole into my tongue. I vowed to never talk to him again. My parents slipped back in through the back door and joined us. Where'd you guys go? Mr. Yao asked. You guys missed the whole thing. In all of his excitement over the jeans, he had completely forgotten about the immigrants in room 6. I looked at my mom and could tell from her face that they were safe. My mom would never know the price I paid for their safety. Jason knew. The whole time his dad was interrogating me, he'd been looking out the window. He saw my parents knock on room 6 door. He saw them sneak the immigrants out of their rooms and out back. He saw the whole thing, but never said anything. Dear Jason, thank you for not saying anything to your dad. I don't know why you didn't. Maybe you're not so bad after all. Your friend, crossed off, your classmate, Mia. I stared at the last part. Maybe you're not so bad after all. My grandmother used to say that people don't change. Our heart is like a rubber band. It might stretch a little, but eventually it snaps right back. I'm not sure if I believed that. Part of me did. We were talking about Jason here, the same kid who took my pencil and licked it. The other part of me, though, wondered. There used to be a time when I let my cousins walk all over me. They were all boys and I was the only girl, and in China, girls are kind of like spare tires. It's nice if you have one, but they're not important. Even my grandmother, whom I loved and missed so much, believed this. She believed like she believed the sky was blue, like it was a fact. Girls were just not as useful as boys. She never came out and said this, of course, but she'd have little ways of showing it, like putting the best dishes in front of my cousins at family dinners, and not me. She'd pat their heads and tell them to eat up before the dish got cold, and I'd watched as they snatched and grabbed the food with their greedy chopsticks until there were hardly any pieces of chicken left for me, only burnt onions. One day, I picked up my chopsticks and started grabbing back. I snagged chicken, shrimp, whatever I could pick up with my chopsticks and hoarded it all in my mouth. "Hey!" Shen complained. "Not fair!" We weren't close then, and I narrowed my eyes at him. As I picked up my chopsticks to reach for more food, Shen blocked my chopsticks with his. Our chopsticks collided like swords. The two of us held them in position, neither willing to back down. It went on like this the next night and the night after that. Eventually, our chopsticks war had gotten so bad, my grandmother had to use her own chopsticks to draw a line in the food to declare one side mine and the other side Shen's. From then on, every dish had a line. I remember countless birthdays, Chinese New Year, everything had a line. Then one day, I looked down, and the line was gone. My grandmother had forgotten to draw it. I waited for Shen to take the first piece of chicken, and he waited for me. Neither of us grabbed, neither of us hoarded. Somehow, we'd gone from food enemies to friends. Neither of us knew when it happened, we just knew we no longer needed the line. I thought about that, about how people do change, as I thought about Jason. I didn't end up giving the letter to Jason. I was going to, but for some reason I just didn't. You know how sometimes you raise your hand, but when the teacher finally calls on you, you pretend you were only tucking your hair? It was kind of like that. As the first of the spring flowers bloomed, I tried to forget the painful memory of the jeans. It helped that I had Hank and Lupe to distract me, and the mailman. Every time he came, I thought about the contest. I thought, this is it. Today's the day. My life is going to change. But the letter from Vermont did not arrive. Other unexpected news did arrive, though, which completely shook up our world. Mr. Yao was selling the motel. My parents' faces turned white. The temperature in the room plummeted as Mr. Yao told them the news. A real estate deal for him in Nevada had gone bad, and he needed a cash injection. "So what does this mean for us?" my parents asked him. "You?" Mr. Yao asked. He snorted, like we hadn't occurred to him at all. Then he shrugged. "Depends on what the new owner wants to do with you." He said it like we were inventory, freely disposable, along with the washer and dryer. Lupe told me not to worry. Motels weren't like houses. They took ages to sell. There's a whole inspection process and everything, she said. I'm sure you guys are going to be out of here before Mr. Yao even finds a buyer. Have you told your parents about the essay contest yet? No, I said. I didn't know what it was about me and secrets. Once I had one, I couldn't let it go. I would feed it and snuggle it, and it would grow and grow inside me until it took on a life of all its own. So no, I hadn't told my parents. I'd been too busy imagining the look of the surprise on their faces to actually surprise them. They're going to freak when you win, Lupe said with a smile. My parents did freak, but not over my winning the contest. They were freaking over who the new motel owner was going to be. Oh God, what if he hates us? My mom asked, biting down on the nail. Or what if he wants to run it himself? My father said. Should we look for another job? My mom asked. What should we do? My parents paced the living room, fretting and panicking while I sat in the corner quietly. That was the problem with keeping a secret. You are all alone on your own little island. Have you ever thought about how nice it would be if you owned the motel? I asked. I just kind of threw it out there. My dad laughed. That would be nice, he said. He looked into the distance and let himself imagine for a second. We wouldn't have to work every single day. We could take Sundays off, together as a family. We could all go swimming, my mom added. I'd love to jump in the pool. Me too, I said. I'd love to get some sleep, my dad said. If we owned the motel, I could put up a sign that says, sorry, I'm sleeping, come back in the morning. A smile played at his lips as he pictured how extraordinary life would be if he could sleep through the night. Then his smile faded, and reality set in. Maybe in another life, he said, picking up his broom. I shook my head. No, Dad. Not in another life, I said. In this life. Our eyes locked. A second passed, and then another. And then I whispered my secret. Chapter 56. They didn't say a word at first. I thought perhaps they were too shocked. Sometimes when I'm too shocked, I can't speak either. That's why I write things down, and even then, sometimes I can't bring myself to deliver them. Like my thank you letter to Jason, which was still sitting there at the bottom of my backpack. I thought maybe my parents were just taking their time too, taking their time to find the right words, but then I looked up and saw my mother's disappointment. "You're not going to win," she said. Her voice was certain, positive. She looked right at me, her eyes a mixture of pain and sadness, but not sad like, "I'm sad you're not going to win." Sad like, "I'm sad you actually thought you could win." I wanted to grab her and shake her. "You're wrong, Mom. I'm not a bike. You'll see," I yelled. My mom put her hands on my arms. "No, honey," she said. "I mean, those sweepstakes are all rigged." The news slapped me across the face. For a second, I was fully blind. And then I flat out denied it. "It's not rigged." "No, of course not," my dad jumped in. "But just think about it. Why would they give away a motel like that?" my mother asked. "Because they're old," I said. "They don't care about the money. They're doing it out of the goodness of their heart." Have you ever seen anybody in this country do something out of the goodness of their heart? "The doctor who fixed you up, remember him?" My mother's face softened. She didn't talk about the contest being rigged after that. Still, the doubt lingered with me. What if she was right? Chapter 57. Mr. Yao came over the next day, poring over the numbers and figures in the big ledger with intensity. I'd never seen before. He took over the entire front desk, making calls and pounding so madly on the calculator I thought it might break. I didn't really want to be in the same room with him after what happened with the jeans, but I stayed behind so I could put the blue baseball cap on the table. Mr. Yao looked up from the ledger. He pointed to the blue baseball cap. "That used to be the old manager's," he said. I didn't say anything. I didn't feel like talking to Mr. Yao, and especially not about that hat. "His name was Yi Fai, but he called himself Jerry," he continued. He picked up the hat and chuckled to himself. "I remember when he got this. He didn't even know what the Yankees were." So why did he get it? I wondered out loud, instantly frowning, because I'd broken my vow never to talk to Mr. Yao again. Darn. He liked the way the Y looked. "His name started with Y," he said. Mr. Yao put the cap back on the desk and looked out in the distance. "He was a good guy, that Ye. Very hard worker." Wait, what? Had I just heard that right? The two before him? Totally useless. Incompetent. Doesn't even cut it. "They couldn't do a single thing without calling me," he said, shaking his head. "How many managers have you had?" I asked him. "Oh, I don't know. I don't count these things." And we're back. These things. But he was a good one, that Ye. I wondered for a second how Mr. Yao would talk about us after we left for Vermont. How would he take the news? "Sooner or later, they all leave," Mr. Yao answered with a sigh, as if he had read my thoughts. Maybe if he was nicer to them, they wouldn't leave, I thought. As I gazed at Mr. Yao, his face hardened by all the years and managers who had come and gone, and I wondered what young Mr. Yao was like when he first started out. Was he less of a jerk or the same? I wish I could ask him. The phone disrupted my thoughts. Mr. Yao grabbed it, and in an instant, he was back to his usual no-nonsense, "You're only as good as your last envelope self." "Bobby, no, listen, I'll get you the money," he said into the phone, waving me away to give him some privacy. I went into my room and replayed what Mr. Yao said about the old manager in my head. A part of me hoped he would say good things about us when we left, even if he never said them to us. The next week, the letter I'd been waiting for arrived. I held it in my trembling hands, staring and staring at the words, "Vermont Motel Giveaway Committee," terrified of what it might contain. "Hank!" I shouted. "It's here!" As the weeklies and my parents piled into the manager's quarters, Hank stood up and cleared his throat. "Everyone, I think that we can all agree that little Mia here has changed our lives, each and every one of us in this room," Hank said. Heads nodded. "Here, here," Billy Bob said. Mrs. Q reached over and gave my hand a squeeze. "Well, now it's her turn. Today, our girl's life is going to change, and it's about time, I say," Hank exclaimed. "Woo!" Fred cheered. Hank took his glass of cream soda and held it up. "To Mia!" Everyone held up their glasses. "To Mia!" the room boomed. I looked around the room, the corner of my eyes wet with gratitude. Love welled inside me as I smiled back at the weeklies. Here we were, strangers from all corners of the world, blown to the Cala Vista by the winds of life, only to find each other and reemerge as a new family. "Thank you guys so much," I said. I thought about how much I was going to miss the weeklies in Vermont, especially Hank, and a lump formed in my throat. Hank pointed at the envelope. May I do the honor? He asked me. I nodded. He took the envelope from me. This is it, people. Hank rubbed his hands together. We all held our breaths as Hank opened the envelope. My heart raced so hard I thought it might come flying out. As Hank unfolded the letter, my mother put her fist to her teeth, her knuckles the color of porcelain. My father's knees were on the floor, his hands folded together, eyes on the ceiling. Thank you for applying for the Vermont Motel giveaway, Hank read. We've read every single entry over very carefully, and we regret to inform you. Hank's smile vanished. What? What is it? I asked. Hank put the letter down, and I knew. So that's where we're going to stop today. So, to quickly go over some stuff in the packet, there's 2 vocab words that we talked about today. I know this is probably going to be backwards, but I tried to record this on my phone earlier. Nothing would download, so we're doing it on the Chromebook webcam. So sorry for the quality as well. So one of the vocab words is cross-referenced. So remember, you're writing what is cross-referenced. So look it up, Google it, look in a dictionary, and write what that means. Then you're writing what it's not. So you're writing the antonyms of that word. What is the opposite of cross-reference? And then you draw a picture in the last box. The other vocab word that we went through today was humiliation. So with humiliation, it says, the humiliation had burned a hole in my tongue. You shouldn't really have to look up humiliation. Think about what you feel like when you're humiliated. Think about what that means and write that down. And then what is the opposite of humiliation? Is it bravery? Is it confidence? And write that down here, and then draw a picture of humiliation. Your vocab quiz you won't take until we finish the book later this week, so you can skip that. You have 4 of these character pages. So you have Hank, Lupe, Jason, and Mr. Yao. I would suggest to do Jason and Mr. Yao a little bit later, towards the end of the book. You could do Hank and Lupe first. So Hank, remember, we're doing, what is Hank? Hank is kind. And remember, we don't need page numbers, but you do need specific examples from the book. So if I said Hank is kind, I could say, Hank is kind because he invites Mia in for burgers. Hank is kind because he protected Mia when an unruly man came into the front desk. Hank is kind because he protected Mia's mom when the people tried to come and rob the Cala Vista. Then I could go on and say something else about Hank. I could say Hank is a hard worker, or Hank is courageous, things like that. You can do the same for Lupe. Lupe is artistic. She draws trees, very detailed, things like that, and giving those specific examples. Like I said, put off Mr. Yao and Jason because we have a little bit more character development throughout the rest of the book. Then you have your DOLs. So you have 2 pages of these. You can do 1 every day. So day 57, it says, him and her go to Disneyland last year. You need to fix spelling, punctuation, capitalization, usage. Do things need to be, are there proper nouns? Do things need to be changed for words? What needs to happen? So go through, fix that within the sentence, and then rewrite the sentence. You have 2 pages of those, so 4 different days. Then we have this thing called Author's Viewpoint. So this is a anchor chart that just kind of tells you what author's viewpoint is. And author's viewpoint, another way to say that is the author's opinion. So it's their stance on the topic that they're writing. It's what they believe in. So if I'm writing a book about teaching, I would probably have a lot to say about how great and rewarding teaching is. That's my viewpoint. So that if I'm the author, that's my opinion. So you have this front and back sheet where you're talking about the author's viewpoint versus your own viewpoint. So again, you're talking about the author's opinion versus your own opinion. So this is 2-sided. So just to give you an example, the second passage or the first passage on the back, it said, soda is a drink that can taste very good, especially on a hot day. But did you know how bad it is for your health? Soda has a lot of calories and it has too much sugar. Soda has been linked to different health problems such as diabetes and obesity. Soda can even cause problems in your mouth. With so much sugar in soda, it is bad for your teeth. Stick to water for a healthier life. So the author's viewpoint, or what the author thinks about this topic, is that soda is unhealthy. Soda is an unhealthy drink to drink. The text evidence is that it says that it's bad for your teeth. It's linked to problems like obesity and diabetes. My viewpoint, I might say soda is unhealthy but can be used in moderation. Drink it maybe every so often. You have to be responsible with it. Obviously, soda is not healthy, but it can be a nice treat once in a while. So you're going to fill out in the first box what the author's opinion is, what from the text proves that that's the author's opinion, and then your own opinion on the topic. That is also this page. It's another author's viewpoint page, and you have 2 passages. And again, you're writing what's the topic, what is the author's opinion, what are the clues. So clues also means text evidence. Where in the text, what clues tell you that, or what does the text say that will tell you that that is the author's opinion or the author's viewpoint. And then how does their viewpoint compare to yours? So how does their opinion compare to your opinion? And you have 2 passages with that. The last page is back to inferencing. So remember, there's 2 things that we add together to equal an inference. Remember that inference equation. So we have what the text says plus our background knowledge equals our inference. So if I was reading our Bridge to Terabithia book, remember it said Jess had holes in his shoes and the mud sloshed in them. So that's my text evidence. My prior background knowledge is if I know someone has holes in their shoes, they're probably old. And if they're not replacing them, that might mean that their family doesn't have the money to replace those shoes. So I can infer that Jess's family is poor. The author did not say Jess's family is poor. I used some evidence from the text, plus what I already know in life from my own experiences, and made that inference. So remember, when we infer, we are reading between the lines. We're kind of like a detective, and we're searching for those clues using what we already know. So that's what you're doing here. It says, I know that word, and you're making an inference about unknown words. So the words that are underlined and the words you're going to be making inference about are just nonsense words. They don't exist. They are things that they put in the story, and they want you to use the context clues around the words, so what the sentence says, plus what you already know about this topic, and think about what that word probably means. So it says directions. Using clues from the story and what you already know, infer the meaning of the made-up word. So we're talking about a birthday here. We've all had a birthday. Think about if you've seen a birthday party on TV. Think about if you've had a birthday party. Think about the things that what happens on your birthday. Get that in your background knowledge. Remember those things. Those are real life experiences, and those are very helpful. So it says happy birthday. The first word is plaiting, and we need to infer what we think plaiting means. Again, plaiting is not a real word. They made this word up, but we need to think, what is the text saying to give us these clues, and what do I know about birthdays to infer what I think that word probably means. So Max's birthday was just around the corner, and he was so excited about plaiting with his friends. So if I'm thinking about a birthday and I'm thinking about that sentence, if I want to think, okay, what words could I put in there that would make sense to go along with birthday and excited about blank with his friends. So Max's birthday was just around the corner, and he was excited about playing with his friends or partying with his friends. So plaiting could mean playing. So that's what I would put right here. Plaiting probably means playing. Again, I know it's backwards. I'm sorry, I can't fix that. So this is the first packet. This is what I would like you to do this week. Again, like I said, if you don't have this, please read and write every day. MobyMax, if you do have this and you've already finished, please still read and write every day. MobyMax, all that jazz. I will be posting this today. Tomorrow, I will fill out a couple of the vocab words. I'll fill out some of the author's viewpoint pages. I'll go over those, and then we'll read some more out of Front Desk. We should finish Front Desk this week. I will not be posting videos over spring break. That is your spring break time. But I will try and post some short videos to explain the second packet after spring break, that week after. So I hope you guys are having a great time. Miss Nestor and I miss you. Miss Nestor came over yesterday and we did some work together planning. And we miss you a ton. Please keep emailing us. Please keep messaging us on Remind. We will respond as much as we can. If you want to create like a Google document for us to have a chat, you're more than welcome to do that as well. So I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you are reading. I hope you are writing. Get out and exercise. It's a beautiful day today. All right. Love you guys. Bye.